Hello, and welcome to Proper Curious, the podcast for down-to-earth creatives. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Liana, and we're two sisters exploring the world through a curious lens in a quest to live more creatively.
So if you feel like that's you, grab a brew and join us. Hello and welcome to Proper Curious. We are in episode 10, which is exciting. This podcast really is aiming to look at different topics, subjects, experiences, and help prompt us into creativity and just be generally curious about existence.
Yeah, just getting stuck in.
Stuck in. We didn't want to pin ourselves down with anything in particular, which has probably limited the listeners, but
yeah, I think so, because it's a bit random, isn't it, really?
But we don't really care.
No.
We're having fun. So our last episode was about Hilma af Klint. Sorry.
We just did a whole episode about it, and she still says Klimt.
I don't know, it always gets muddled in my brain, that. Her spirit-guided artworks. Mm-hmm. So how have you been creative since then?
Yes. So I was determined at the end of that episode to do my beach stick, wasn't I? I did.
You were all gung-ho about getting into the flow.
Yeah, I think because my point was, like, I just need to relax a little bit. Stop being so intense. And, like,
well, like, letting loose of perfectionism, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, like, going with it.
So I got my big stick, went to the beach with Dylan. He took a big stick as well. We had some big sticks in the garden, so it was all right. We didn't need to find one there.
Thanks for that.
Got to the beach, and thankfully the tide was out because I forgot to Google that. And there was a really nice patch we got there, and I was like, right, Dylan, which patch shall we go on? I just kind of was like, what shall I channel? So I just tried to blank my mind, actually. And we spent a good 30 minutes just sort of like, I was just drawing, I guess, trying to, stylistically a little bit Hilma. Just going with the flow. And then I tried to channel some thought forms.
Yeah.
And I was like, what would the thought form for what I'm feeling right now, which was like serenity, what would that be? But really, I think it was just kind of whatever I wanted to do in the moment.
Yeah. Well, that is that though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is that. And I was really pleased. I did quite a big patch, actually.
Yeah, you really did.
Pip kept like digging up. I was like, because obviously every time I was making this lines in the sand, she was like, oh, I want to dig.
Is there something there?
Yeah, so she just did a little dig here and there, and then I was like, oh, you're ruining my nice neat lines.
Oh no, see, the perfectionism's even coming there.
Yeah, no. So I did that, and that was actually a really lovely evening spent. What have you done creatively?
So I actually did try some like just doodling, letting like playful doodling like you were doing on the beach. And I think play and creativity, I mean, that's the key, isn't it?
Well, that is it.
It doesn't matter what the outcome is. So I just did try doing some doodling. That was interesting. Because usually I do free writing, but I don't really do free like drawing very often.
Oh, that's interesting.
We also went to Roslyn Glen, which is woodland, because I said to Aileen that I wanted to do some like nature artwork after you said that you were doing the beach thing, and I was thinking, and I just could see like an Andy Goldsworthy meets Hilma af Klint, mash up in the forest, and I was like, whoa. So I went to this like really special massive tree that's there next to this really old castle building. And it's quite creepy. It's got quite a lot of history in Roslyn Glen. I find it a little bit creepy, actually. I don't get good vibes in there.
Oh, that's really interesting.
But it is beautiful.
So what did you do with your art?
So I was doing, so we just found the base of the tree and it has good big roots. I was just like, what we can do. And we just made lines of twigs. I put a picture on the Instagram, actually. But nothing special, nothing amazing. Because the outcome doesn't matter and it's about play more than it's about anything. And I thought it looks kind of like, what are they called on maps?
Contours.
Contour lines around the tree. And it was just really nice to like, I think the mindfulness of like finding the right size sticks. Just like gathering and laying out and organising it and being quiet while you're doing that in nature. It was really like soothing. But while we were doing that, we just heard like creepy singing coming from the woodland. I was like, can you hear that? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's good. It's not just me. Because I was like, the fairies are coming for me. But no, it was two Norwegian women who popped through a gap in the wall because a bit of wall fallen over. And they were like, hello. They were linked down. It turned out it was a mother and daughter, and their sister was getting married there the day after.
Aww.
I think what that episode has brought to me is more about being intuitive and
Yeah.
an intuitive state as a playful activity to prompt further creativity. Because I then wrote a poem based on the experience of meeting those women.
Yeah.
So the topic for this episode is ghosts, ghouls, and graveyards.
Ooh.
I mean, it's really about ghosts, but we thought that sounded nice.
We love three things, and alliteration is always good.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
Oh, no. So what I thought we could have a think about first was our own experiences. Have you had any ghostly encounters?
Well, I have, but not loads.
No, me either.
Yeah, I think like hadn't really had any, and then there's one particular one that really stands out for me amongst the two
Yeah.
that are actually real.
And what happened?
So basically, when Dylan was turning 2, I was setting up Dylan's birthday party at our house. We were just having like friends and family around for his birthday. It was a lovely sunny day because he's a June baby. And I was in the kitchen setting up the table and things like that, decorating. And why this one stands out to me is because of where and when it happened. It sort of, I wasn't in a certain frame of mind. I literally had a blank mind. I wasn't
you were
thinking
just
about anything.
getting
I was
on
just
with
like,
stuff.
right, I'm getting on. So I was in the kitchen clattering away and I was in a cupboard. I remember bending down to this cupboard and all of a sudden I had this moment where I was suddenly back in Grandma and Granddad's house in Lincoln. And like I could smell their house. Do you remember their house?
Yeah, like the leather sofa.
Leathery.
And cigar smoke.
I was there.
Faint.
I was just there.
So weird.
And it was only like maybe a split second, and I almost like came round back to the kitchen. I just had this like absolute brimming, like emotional response and just burst into tears. It was really weird, especially because we weren't particularly close to Grandma and Granddad. So I was like, oh, I just like started crying. It really felt.
Yeah, I didn't expect it at all.
And I just felt like, what on earth has just happened there? And I kind of like, you explain things away, don't you? And I was just like, oh, it was obviously just maybe I smelt something in the cupboard or, I don't know. And I didn't really think anything of it. I'd told Mum about this experience. And then 6 months later...
Yeah, so he'd be like nearly 3 or something.
Well, 2.5. Remember Dylan's speech was really good. Like...
Yeah. He was saying full sentences like that's a helicopter going to Manchester Airport.
Yeah. Mum was like, Leanne, you'll never guess what happened today. And I was like, oh, what? And he was like, well, I was looking through... photos just of my family with Dylan, and he said, oh, Nana, that's the lady that was at my birthday. And Mum was like, oh, this one here, are you sure, Dylan? And he was like, yeah. And Mum was like, oh, do you mean this Granny? Because Granny was there, like Dad's mum was there. This Granny was there. Are you sure it wasn't this one? And he was like, no, this lady was at my
so
birthday
weird.
party. And he was adamant that it was her. And she obviously passed away when we were like in our teens.
Yeah.
And both of us just got absolute goosebumps because we were like, well, that's very strange. And considering Dylan's was 2, and you're like...
Yeah, he can't really make it up. He hasn't got any like...
No.
He's just saying it,
Just like...
that's
yeah.
so strange.
Isn't it strange? And you just think, well, it could be that she just wanted to just kind of show somehow that she was there. But then I don't know how much. I've always been pretty skeptical, and I still am quite skeptical, but that is the one thing that stands out to me. Those 2 pairing of kind of incidents stand out to me as
and
being
Dylan's
like...
memory is so accurate, isn't it? Like,
yeah, he really is.
He'll
attention
like
to
see
detail.
something. So if you're doubting this story, Dylan will see something or see it in a book, and then like a year later it'll be really specific and bring it up, and you'll be like, no way.
Yeah. So that was the one for me that I was like, that's a little bit strange, and I can't really explain that. I can't.
Yeah.
Because, usually, because you're like, oh, well, it's grief, or it's like, you know, you're thinking about them and you're missing them. And I was like, well, I definitely wasn't. Like,
No, and you weren't even thinking
I
about
wasn't even
anything.
thinking. But then maybe it's because I wasn't thinking that I was open to receiving things. You know, like we've
Well,
talked
it's
about in
like
the
it.
past, where you
It's
just
like
blank in like a meditative state.
there is cases of like ghost communication through dream states and stuff. I wonder if that was her way of saying that she's there.
Other than that, you know, I've had plenty of times where I've had feelings.
Yeah, and that's when it's hard to know if it's your brain though or not.
But they're the moments where I'm a bit more suspicious.
But it is sometimes weird when that will occur. Like sometimes you get a feeling like there's the obvious scenarios where you're in a creepy building and you associate it because all of the media you've ever seen in your life is saying this is a creepy place.
Haunted houses.
Exactly, and it's old and creaky. But sometimes you can be in somewhere really like innocuously normal and
still get it.
you just suddenly get this feeling of like, oh, I need to leave this room.
What about you though? Have you had any like ones that stand out to you?
So the only thing I can think of really, I've had lots of like feelings, but not seeing. Like feeling that I've been watched, feeling that like for my whole life, I sleep with the light on every single night because almost every single night I do feel creeped. But I think I just have a really good imagination. I don't know why. Do you know what I mean? Like why would
Like
you start being
consistently.
creeped like that? But anyway, so when I was about, I must have been about 6. You would have been about 3. We had a bedroom that was like quite large. We lived in a really normal terraced. Yeah, the bedroom was quite big though, and the bunk beds that we slept in were like right across the room from the door. And it was those 1970s doors, you know, with a glass panel over the top.
Oh
You
yeah.
could see the hallway light. So I was in the top bunk because obviously Anna was little and she would have fallen out probably. So, and we had a babysitter one night. I was in bed, sort of half asleep, and I just felt someone like stroking my forehead and playing with my fringe, like stroking my hair, basically. And I really like my hair being played with, so I was like, that's nice. And I just remember feeling really relaxed. And then I opened my eyes because I thought, oh, who is it? Opened my eyes and I just saw this hand like drift over the side of the bed. And I was like, oh, like slightly sad that they'd stopped. And I thought, oh, right, she must have like gone and sat down on the bottom bunk to see you. So I stuck my head right over the edge of the bed. Absolutely nothing and no one there. And being as the room was bigger, you wouldn't have got across the room in the time it took me to look over the edge of the bed.
Part of me was like, oh, well, you were half asleep, so maybe it was the babysitter.
I mean, it could have just been me dreaming and feeling that, but I really like.
But
I
if you-
remember lying almost awake, feeling it.
Yeah,
but not
and like
opening
you've
my eyes.
remembered
You know what
that
you do
for
when
all
you're a
this
kid
time as
and
well.
you pretend that you're asleep.
Yeah,
Well, because then I got a total panic, and I remember hiding under my duvet. And you know when you get a bit sweaty because you're like
So
I
scared.
daren't move. Like I
Yeah,
don't know what to
I've
do.
had that
Like
many
that's not
times,
explainable.
actually, as a
And I
kid.
was
Yeah.
generally creeped out in that house. I remember asking Dad once in that same house, like, Dad, can strange things happen? And what I meant was, are werewolves real? And he was like, strange things can happen, Rachel. And I was like,
Oh my god! Trying to be honest with you.
totally freaked.
I mean, I've always loved ghost stories, and I've always had the fascination that so many of us have about like ghosts and stories, and almost wanting to see one, and like wanting yourself to get creeped out, but then like obviously being like, oh no, I'm too creeped out now. Like I remember watching the film The Others. Do you remember the
Yeah,
Others?
the others, yeah.
And then Sixth Sense, and I was like,
Yeah,
yes,
Sixth Sense creeps me out
I
loads.
loved that. We've been wanting to do ghosts, haven't we, on the podcast?
Well,
for a
it followed
while,
on from Hilma because she was obviously channeling the spirits, and then we were just like, this is a natural.
This is a
lead in.
natural tangent and one that we are well up for.
Oh, and it totally ties into everything, you know. So, in preparation for this episode, well, first we started just researching, didn't we? And then we were, I think, getting a bit overwhelmed by the amount that there is to talk about. So we decided to have a little ghost adventure. And another impulsive one, actually. Liana came to Edinburgh and we had an epic day.
Yeah, it was mega.
Last
We walked 10 miles.
10 miles. I was like, oh, my feet are a bit sore. And then when we looked at the steps, I was like,
"Mine are
no flipping wonder. And that was how much we were walking, let alone just standing still, dawdling around.
Yeah.
We started had breakfast on the Royal Mile, didn't we? And then planned a day, which was quite exciting. And the cafe that we chose had an access to the vaults at the bottom.
I know, and there was some. Do you remember there was flickering lights in the toilet? And I was like, oh my goodness, if that doesn't on purpose. For
I was
the ghost
literally
effect.
so creeped out in the toilet cubicle.
It was
I
like,
"We're
flickering
next to
in
the vaults."
And what happened in the vaults? Just for everyone that doesn't know,
It's an underground, supposedly haunted bit of Edinburgh. You can watch it on Most Haunted on YouTube. There's an episode.
Yeah.
Which is why it creeped me out, because then I was like, I'm going to hear voices. Anyway, then we went down the Royal Mile, past Holyrood, through Arthur's Seat, and to Duddingston Kirk and Duddingston Lock and the Sheep's Heat, and then to Greyfriars Kirkyard. So we did
Oh yeah, I forgot about
the
that
haunted spots. So we started down the Royal Mile. There's various haunted points down the Royal Mile. The Museum of Childhood has little children's ghosts in it. We didn't go in there. There's another bar across from that. The Mitre Pub, they've got a poltergeist in the basement. There's a Tolbooth Tavern, which is in the old Tolbooth building, previously a jail. It's really, really, really old building.
And then we were like, oh, let's go in John Knox's house.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't that expensive, was it? And it's a storytelling centre as well, so we got a bit distracted by that at first.
Well, I suggested it because there's no, I can't find anything online about, any ghosts, but I had been there before and I felt totally freaked
Rach
out
was
in
like,
that room.
quick, let's go up to the attic before anyone else gets up there. And we downloaded this ghost hunting app because we were like, this will be fun, funny.
Yeah.
Just
So one of those spirit apps.
dafting about.
We were sceptical, weren't we? But
Oh yeah. But it was fun.
we thought we might as well download it and have a go.
So we were using that and didn't quite know how it worked. And then it was making this really big white noise sound and beeping as we were walking around. Rach was like, "Leanne, do you want to turn it down because it's beeping. People are listening, people are coming." But the guy at the desk was like, "Do you want this massive booklet of different points?" And we were just like,
We were
"No."
like, yeah,
Rach was like, "Have you seen any ghosts?"
He didn't seem very excited.
And he was like, "I haven't, but my colleagues have." And
I was like, and?
So then we basically rushed through it, didn't we?
Yeah, we didn't. I mean,
felt
John
I was
Knox is
neglecting the history a little bit there, but
a Scottish clergyman, writer and historian from 1514 to 1572.
oh, lovely.
And he's known for his quite passionate sermons, and he was really against Mary, Queen of Scots. And there's a really old painted ceilings
With some very interesting paintings.
images. So it's a little naked sort of fawn man with a willy and boobs.
Yeah,
And
really fun. I liked it. Just hello.
I don't know what that's about.
Hello.
Then there's a little fairy next to it. But very bizarre. But you can go in his study, and Liana was walking around going, we got a video, so I'll put it on Instagram. But Liana was like, "We love your painted ceilings, John Knox." and then she went off into the side room on her own, and all I could hear was "I love your little windows, John Knox."
I think I was a bit wary of the ghost app, so I was like, well, I'll probably just flatter it.
And then I said, why are you praising everything? She's like, "Because it won't follow me home."
Because in my research, it was some people have even claimed that the spirits followed them home. And I was like, well, I don't want that to happen. So I'll just be really nice. But I actually didn't feel anything creepy there. It was...
No, I didn't on that day, actually.
I was very...
Well, we did go in his study and we saw... You were looking at the fireplaces. After our Witch Marks episode, we're now obsessed with fireplaces, aren't we? And we're both
honestly, get right in there. I'm
looking
up
with my
the
phone
chimney.
torch. I bet the other people in the room thought we were absolutely nuts.
I think we are.
But, yeah. In his study in the wood panelling, you said, "Oh, I think there's a little mark here. That looks quite recent." And the app said, agreed. How weird.
Yeah, and I thought that was a bit weird. But I was still quite skeptical at this point of the app because it is one of those, like, there's just, like, free download and you have to... And every so often when I was, like, getting into it and I was like, John Knox, are you here? Like, oh, is this you, John Knox? And it did say grandfather, didn't it, at one point?
Yeah, but
And then-
that was in the room where it was a previous
Yeah, there was like
jeweller's
there was
house,
like
and it was talking about the grandfather.
thing in the middle where it was like there was a model of someone getting hanged. It was a bit creepy. And I was like, is this you? Oh no, I was like, is this you, James? Someone.
That's how they died. They were put to death, the people from
Oh, I
there.
didn't read the facts, did I? I was just looking for ghosts.
We were just waiting for the ghost to tell us.
Like literally, we're like bombed through this whole house, just like ignoring the panels, ignoring the altar. Let's just go to the haunted
Ignoring the
thing.
information.
Like we probably needed to
15th
know.
century Bibles, which were actually amazing. But
It was actually a really great place to visit, but
Yeah.
maybe on a different day.
so then we carried on, didn't we? And we went
Then we went down
into-
to the toll booth.
Yeah, the old toll booth building that used to be hold the prisoners. It's very old.
Yeah,
And so the People's Story Museum
which is next
is
door.
inside of it.
Yeah,
It's in all in the
and
same
it's
building.
free. It's really free.
It's really free, and it's really, really interesting at the content of that. It's
Yeah,
a
it's
social
cool. It's
history
really good.
museum.
It's really nice.
So you should definitely go. Staff are great as well.
So we had our app on.
But anyway, we went up bombing around there, didn't we? Just to
Yeah, we're
sit
just like,
down.
quick, go into the rooms, see what's
And
happening.
we got to this. They've got a mock-up of an old prison cell, which probably was a prison cell because it's got bars on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were outside waiting, and the app said freedom.
Freedom?
didn't it?
It also
That was
spitted out
random
absolutely loads of other words.
garbage, but not loads.
I've still got it on my phone. It keeps a log. Maybe I'll put it to the mic so you can hear.
Oh, you're opening the app in your house.
So this is the sound that it makes when you're walking around.
Now, what if it picks up something right
It's
now?
not going to pick. I've already done that, Rach. It's not picked up anything.
Have you?
Yeah. Although I did creep myself out the other night. I had to sleep with the nightlight on. Dylan's nightlight.
What did it say?
To get it. Oh, just.
Oh,
Oh, it is picking up something. Oh,
let it do it.
it's probably. Well, I can.
Let me see this.
Oh, I don't know. It's.
Oh, it literally is doing something. Oh no!
Oh no, because what if I listen back to this recording and then I hear like a ghost
No, I can't
talking
hear
to me?
anything. I can't hear anything.
This is basically what we were like the whole time. It's beeping. It's beeping. And now it's getting quicker. Oh, move closer.
Whoa!
Oh. Oh. Square. It's
You are square. Did you hear it say something though?
It's a blooming recording, Rach. It did throw out steamy when we were like looking at the because you
At
were
the
like
steamy.
and yeah and you were like, oh, this
The
is what
laundry
would have been
thing.
called the steamy, and I was like, oh, but maybe it's just recording what we're saying and like picking words that we've said, but I don't think it's that intelligent actually.
No, well, it didn't do that for anything else.
I think at this point we were really into the app, weren't we?
So, basically, we were in the room looking out the window, and we'll cut to a clip of us now.
We were so taken
out.
by what happened next.
What happened? You're joining us in Canongate Kirkyard in Edinburgh. We came down the Canongate and we thought we'll go into the People's Story, which is within the building of the Toll Booth Tavern, like the Toll Booth building, which used to be a prison cells.
Over breakfast this morning on the Royal Mile, we thought it might be interesting to download one of those apps that like picks up signals and then turns out a word for you or whatever. Well, so we were in this People's Story.
Which is the Toll Booth prison.
Yeah.
And we were looking out the window and Liana was like, oh, whoa.
It just said long, and then it said buried, and then it came up 2 minutes later saying forever.
And we were looking, so we looked out the window, and as we were looking out the window, because I was like, long, because Liana was like, is that someone's name? And then a magpie just landed on this grave. And so we were
And
like...
I was like, oh, there's a churchyard.
like, as we were staring at it, so we were like, felt like it was a sign. And I was like, one for sorrow. How weird. And then...
So trying not to get
so we,
distracted by stuff.
whipped out of the building, like, we were like...
On a quest.
on a quest. That was so exciting. And
Let's go.
went round to the exact grave near the magpie where it landed.
It wasn't the grave that the magpie landed on. Because I said, while we were in the museum, I said, oh, it would be funny if that long was on a grave. And lo and behold,
Lo and behold, Not only was there one long, it was like a whole family, probably about like 10 of them.
Yeah, obviously like a prominent family. And then it said young, when we were talking about, it said youngster.
And corner. It said corner first, didn't it? And then it said youngster. And where we were was near the corner of the building where there was a big tomb. And they died age 3. It was a youngster.
Yes, there was
The
lots
youngster
actually
was
that
in
were
the
babies.
corner. So we were just kind of like, our hearts were going mad.
It was a bit very strange actually, because we did think, I was really sceptical, and I just thought, but that is a bit weird. Isn't
Youngster
that a
in
bit
the corner.
weird? No, yeah. That's
I mean, that's
called long.
like, and we're looking out the window at a long. Oh, it's a tree. That really something touched me.
No, it's probably the tree. The tree is behind you.
Felt like a hand.
Blossom.
Oh my god, that's crazy, isn't it? Honestly, I can't believe that. I can't believe that happened. When I've been telling people about this week, it's weird. It is weird.
It's weird because as the day went on, I feel like I got more skeptical with the app again, because it was just throwing out some really random words, and we didn't really have any other experiences like that for the rest of the time. So I was a bit like, And then I've come home and I did, research a little bit more about apps and like how it actually works. But I still think it's weird. I still think that is weird. Even if the app is
it
fake.
shows you. Yeah, but Leanna, it shows you how, like, if we didn't have any other related or sensible things, and that was sensibly related to where we were content-wise, timing-wise,
Yep.
that makes it more poignant, doesn't it?
Yep.
And anyway, it doesn't matter because ghosts can just control electronics.
Well, that is one theory.
Well, we did go down then. So I was like, oh, there's some like quite creepy graves down here.
And you were like, no one ever goes down here, so, it'll be quiet. And
we started going down the slope of the hill because it goes down to where like the trains run into Waverley Station. It's like down the hill a bit. And there's some like vault type
mausoleum.
Yeah. So we were sort of heading down that way and it said lower yourself. And we were literally walking down the hill, down the steps.
I was like, oh, that's a bit
I was like,
weird.
I hope you mean physically and not morally.
Keeping it light and cheery.
And then we got to this grave under the tree down the hill.
And then it threw out a couple of random words, but one of them was train. And Rach was like, the train station, the train track is literally just on the other side of there. I was like,
so we were like,
weird.
Yes, the trains do run down there.
And then it said soldiers. And then it said trigger. And then it said run.
Yeah, and then we did.
And then we were like, oh, quick.
Well, I mean, we did have a little panic, but we didn't run, did we?
No, we were like freaked out. We didn't know anything about this at the time when we were in there, but, I found a PDF that they've produced of like interesting points about, because that was the Canongate Kirkyard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And one point was that it was like lots of soldiers were buried there.
Yeah.
So we carried on, didn't we, then just sort of we walked to Holyrood Park.
We maybe thought about going in Holyrood House because there was obviously David Rizzo. He was murdered there, but we didn't go in.
Yeah, really
we just chose to.
He was stabbed like 50 times or something,
56 times, yeah.
Yeah, really bad.
The bloodstains on the floor in the palace, if you want to go and see it.
Even though they replaced the floorboards, the bloodstains magically reappear.
Yeah, so then we walked through Attersea, beautiful. Then we went to the Sheep's Head, which is 14th century, 13th century pub. And it has a haunted Victorian Skittles alley. We didn't go in the Skittles alley, but we did go into the pub and have a drink where there's supposed to be a chap called the Major.
The old Major, which was a landlord. Yeah, he was a landlord in the 50s. And the ghost story around that was that some young child had reportedly like gone in, sat there with her mum, and she'd been chatting like quite animatedly to this person. And mum was like, who are you talking to? And the kid was like, it's just old Major. And then when they kind of checked,
but they wouldn't have known that.
They were like, oh yeah, there was a landlord in the 50s whose nickname was Old Major because he used to sit there and play chess.
But we didn't see anything. We didn't really feel anything either.
Yeah, there was nothing there. We kind of just had a nice time there, didn't we?
Yeah. And then we walked all the way back and went to Greyfriars Kirkyard, which has just so many ghost tours in there. To be honest, it's very over-popularised, so I didn't really want to like focus on it because I feel like it's been talked about.
Some great gravestones, though.
Of that Mackenzie poltergeist in there. We didn't pick up anything really, did we?
Nah.
So that was our experience of the day.
And it was very interesting. Yeah, and fun.
What that brought up for me afterwards when we were reflecting, because I think there's so many things to talk about in relations to ghosts, isn't there? Aspects to focus on. But I've never ever used an app before in that way.
No, I haven't. Because I've always been I think I've always been a bit like, well, growing up, we were like, oh, don't talk to them. Like,
don't engage.
But I think because I'm so skeptical anyway, I was like, it's just a bit fun in it with the app. I didn't actually expect anything to, happen. And part of me still is like, maybe it's just coincidence.
Yeah, is it just like whatever? Yeah.
And I am.
Because obviously, like, long buried forever, I mean, if it's an app made for finding ghosts, the high likelihood is you're going to be in a graveyard.
Yeah.
So that would be sensible words to input.
So I did a little bit of research about, like, how the app actually worked. So it was called, like, Ghost Hunting Tools Detector.
Electromagnetic.
Yeah, well, no. So basically the microphone, it just uses a microphone and picks up ambient sounds, and it's programmed to pick up or detect faint sounds or white noise to produce words on the screen. It also has, like, an inbuilt proximity alert to kind of indicate how close you are to a spirit. And it does talk about magnetic fields. But I'm still a bit confused about it, to be honest. Because it did say on the app as well, like, scanning for a signal at certain points.
Yeah.
That means a ghost signal. Because we were like, it's got no signal. We need to move to a different area. But it doesn't mean that. It just meant signal, scanning for a ghost signal. And then I was, like, Googling it, like, how real are these? And there was so much debate online. And then I went down a bit of a rabbit hole on Reddit of people talking now about how best to record ghosts and which apps and tools are the best. And the consensus just seemed to be just normal video and audio recordings. Do not use any of the apps because they are for entertainment purposes only, and the clauses you find in them are for that. And then someone was going, you just need to get some light up cat balls. Leave them out. Light up cat balls.
I've seen that.
Yeah, someone was like, I've gone through 40 of them. Blah, blah. And then he was like, and sometimes the ghost went with the cat balls when he gave them away. I was like, don't understand. And then someone else claimed that a ghost hunting app had saved them from a fire, them and their family from a fire, because previous to the fire happening, several weeks before, it kept saying fire, together, everyone. And that was the words that it was spitting out. So it saved them from a fire, apparently.
How?
Because it pre-warned them of the fire. So they were maybe
but what did they do about that?
Extra on guard.
All right.
Oh, I don't know, actually. Anyway, so then I was like, okay, I need to stop reading this because I'm just getting in a proper rabbit hole. Or Reddit hole. So I basically think they're mainly made for entertainment.
I saw some that said they use the
weird
accelerometer and gyroscope in the phones that can sense tiny movements and vibrations, and there's a magnetometer which allows the compass to work and can pick up electromagnet signals. I then found on horrorfacts.com guidelines for communication using an app.
Oh, right, okay. What does it say?
Yes, which we probably did not adhere to whatsoever in any way. It says...
Oh, why? What are the guidelines? Have we broken ghost rules?
Right, it says, guidelines for modern spirit communication. Begin with a clear purpose and define your limits.
Well, we definitely didn't do that.
Use airplane mode to keep calls and notifications from interrupting your session. We did not do that.
Didn't do that.
Take any note of environmental conditions that could affect your results. We kept talking all the time. Keep your sessions short to conserve battery and avoid overheating. It did take a lot of battery.
It did.
Maintain a healthy dose of skepticism, but be open to unexpected experiences. Yes, we did. There you go. That's it.
Oh.
So what I thought about after that, when we got back, because I was like, I want to look at an aspect of this, was ghost communication in general. How ghosts communicate with us and how we communicate with ghosts as a thing, you know?
That's interesting, actually. That's an interesting angle.
Yeah, because it just using the app made me just think...
This is the way that we're seeking to somehow channel them.
Yeah. So I think I'll start with, like, the way that ghosts communicate with us. And one of the, like, like, obviously I listen to loads of ghost podcasts. So Terra Cellar, great. Uncanny, obviously. Love them too. So one of the things that comes up frequently in these episodes,
Yeah.
like when people send it in, is mimics. And they're probably like the number one thing that freaks me out. So this is where a mimic is like when a paranormal entity, spirit, or unexplained presence imitates a person's voice, sound, appearance, or movement in order to appear familiar. But it often is like, so some signs of a mimic are having like hearing a loved one like calling you. Like often people will report like they're upstairs and they hear their mum like, or their partner shouting to them, but they're not in the house, or they're down the garden or something like that.
See, that to me feels creepier because it's like that's almost quite devious.
Or,
Like, why do they want to seem familiar to you? Like, ooh.
And usually when you get fearful of that, they get stronger.
Apparently, according to some people.
And then sometimes you get like fleeting visual impressions of a loved one. But the voice typically sounds for like flat or emotionless and a bit off, which obviously makes it even more creepy because it's quite clear that it's not quite that person.
So
you know it's not.
Yeah, just like, that sounded like them.
You kind of know it sounds like.
But it's not. That is weird, isn't it?
And I would really recommend putting in like ghost mimics and looking at the Reddit thread because there is like loads of stories. So obviously the main other ways that spirits communicate, what led me to think about was, do you know the stages of poltergeist activity? That really includes it.
I don't know about stages of poltergeist.
Oh, right. So
What's the stages?
Rupert Matthews, in his book Poltergeists, outlined the 8 stages of poltergeist activity.
Wowzers.
This is the pattern.
Okay.
And it's really true because like a lot of the stories that people have told, it follows the same pattern, like when they're investigating, often leading to like, this is like the precursor to people calling for an exorcist or clergy or blessing or whatever.
That's interesting. Okay.
So stage 1, beginnings. So it's like light tapping or scratching noises, but it's usually at night. Like, did I hear that? Did I not? Don't know.
Yeah.
2, noises get louder and more repetitive. So like knocking,
Like the
footsteps,
regularity, yeah.
like cracking or banging or objects vibrating, and that is in the day or night. It's quite clear that there's something. 3 is moving objects, which often starts at the same time as
So it's
stage
almost like
2.
it's building strength.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So this is often in quite a rapid space of time.
Okay.
So like objects are moved or thrown, or they disappear and reappear somewhere else.
Right.
It's rare to actually see the objects moving. And it usually focuses on a certain type of object, like keys or, I don't know, something like that. And then the object might be hot to touch afterwards.
Oh.
Weird. Number 4 is apports and disapports. So the object appears out of nowhere, e.g. in the Battersea poltergeist where the key appeared on the pillow. And that kicked off the whole thing. That was
Right,
weird,
yeah.
Or an object will appear, like, disappear into oblivion, like, you can't find it ever again.
Which stage are you in at this point?
4.
So this is halfway through. Blimey heck.
Number
I would be
5.
moving out at this stage.
But this can happen in the space of a week, all of these stages.
Right, okay.
So number 5, communication, knocks in a code, which you're able to decipher. So, like, 3 knocks is a yes, 2 no's, no.
So that's when you trying to engage with it.
Sometimes speech, like, and it usually starts with, like, growls or slurps or whistling, mutterings and distant voices. So often people report, like, they could hear, like, 2 people talking together in the next room.
Okay.
But they're not able to hear any of the words. It's like,
It's like mumbled. Muffled.
you know, like, yeah. And the voice, if the voice does talk directly, it sounds like robotic. This is interesting. Often the details provided of what they've spoken about is proved to be false, which is weird. So there's an element of deceit in the whole thing. 6, climax, increased to a point not reached before, e.g. threat to life, potentially. But like usually like...
That's at stage 6?
Yeah.
Right.
And stage 7 is decline, where it fairly rapidly loses its abilities after that climax point.
Oh, right, okay. So we're going back.
It's like sort of reducing a bit. And the 8 is the ending, so it might just slowly fade out, or it's usually a forced ending brought about by an exorcism, or the focus person might leave the property or the situation, or something changes and it ends. 'Cause,
So
you know,
did this
often
guy
it's
do
centred around
research?
adolescence. Yeah,
Was this a researcher? Like an
Yeah.
academic researcher?
I don't know. Paranormal research or whatever.
Okay.
I think the Battersea Poltergeist, the episode that Danny Robbins does on the
I
podcast
actually haven't
series of
listened to
that
that, so
is amazing.
I've listened to a few Uncanny episodes and then I got really freaked out, so I had to turn one of them off.
This is a separate podcast. It's not Uncanny.
Oh, right,
It's like
okay.
he does a series specifically on the Battersea Poltergeist because it was such an epic case. But it was in 1950s London where there was like literally in a like semi-detached normal house, not semi-detached. I think it's a terraced house, like just average house.
Is this the one they made a film about?
Probably. But it's centered around Shirley Hitchings, who was a 15-year-old girl.
Ah, right, okay.
And they like nicknamed their ghost Donald when it started. Do you know how people tend to name
Yeah, like to
thing?
put personality to it. Mhm.
Yeah. And they had like noises, scratching, knocking, moving furniture, but the knocking was like so loud the neighbours were hearing it and people were like, can you stop that? Like, what's happening? So it was quite clearly happening. It was really, really happening.
Yeah.
And then when you listen to it, there's so many people involved. Like, it was a big story in the newspapers at the time. Like, journalists slept over in the house and experienced it.
Yeah, I think they did make a film about that.
Crazy.
Did she like become possessed at one point?
No, so there was the Enfield poltergeist, which was
that's what I'm thinking of.
similar. This one, no. And on Danny Robbins' podcast, it's with the woman. She's now in her 80s. So that's quite interesting. But it ended up writing on the wall. They used alphabet letters. It was Harold Chibbett, who was a paranormal investigator by night and a tax inspector by day. He stayed in their house for like years with them. Because this happened over a course of 12 years.
That's a long time. I would not have stayed in the house that long.
Absolutely not. And that started with a silver key appearing on Shirley's pillow. And it just went crazy after that. And they like had slippers walking in the living room. The whole family was there, so they all saw it on their own. Bed sheets being pulled off, chairs moving, tapping on headboards, and just all sorts
Did
spontaneous
you say
fires.
that they had like they used the alphabet and wrote the alphabet?
Yeah,
so
so this
could
Harold
communicate?
Chibbett was trying to communicate, and they ended up getting
right.
3,000 to 4,000 notes from Donald, and like 60, sometimes 60 per day.
Did they find out who it actually was? Whether it was attributed to the actual person?
Well, yeah, so it ended up being like Prince Louis of France, who died age 10 in 1792. But I feel like that the start was real,
But maybe it evolved into something.
but it
like
maybe
a bit
evolved
more of a
into
hoax.
something that was a bit more contrived. Possibly by no fault of anyone, but by because the way they were identifying the letters, people could easily guide it.
And also, like, people get hysterical and that almost it builds up like an energy around
Into
it.
a
And
thing,
everyone's
yeah.
like, whoa, yeah, it's Prince Louis. But it just made me think when you were saying about the alphabet, when we were in the Greyfriars Kirkyard,
Yeah.
on the Mackenzie Poltergeist mausoleum. On the side of that, we were like, why is the alphabet carved into the side? And I Googled that when we got home, actually, and it did say, like, it's been graffitied, basically, because this poltergeist activity has been going on for such a long time.
I wonder if it's so that they can throw a stone and spell something.
But I don't know, it's a bit rubbish, like, graffitiing on someone's grave, but, like...
Yeah, it is.
So that explains that. But, yeah, it just made me think of it. Cool, so
that is interesting.
So the 8 stages of poltergeist activity.
Do you know, interestingly, when we were talking about The Haunted, that film earlier on, that was actually based on, I didn't realise this, the Smurl haunting in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, 1974 to 1989. There was a couple called Jack and Janet Smurl, Smurl, who claimed a demon inhabited their home. And it was investigated by demonologists, clergy, and scientific skeptics. And then there was a paperback book called The Haunted in 1986. And then the movie came out in 1991.
Right.
And then actually recently, The Conjuring Last Rites was based on it in 2025.
See, I really enjoyed the first Conjuring movie, and then I thought the rest were rubbish.
They had loud noises, bad odours. Their dog got thrown into the wall.
Oh, poor dog.
Shook their mattress, pushed one of their daughters on the down the stairs, physically and sexually assaulted family members on several occasions.
What?
That's wild, isn't it?
I don't know how much I believe that, though. I'm very skeptical about that.
Oh, it's so weird. Anyway, that wrote on a message on a mirror saying "get out,"
Okay.
which is creepy. But interestingly, Jack Smell, the guy in the couple in 1983, had water from his brain removed after he'd had meningitis in his youth, and he'd actually experienced like some neurological changes, like short-term memory loss.
This links with some of the research that I have come up with.
And one thing I thought about was like there's multiple medical things like Charles Bonnet, delirium, Lewy body dementia that can all cause hallucinations. So wrapping up to the like how we try to communicate. Because obviously like the smartphone is recent, isn't it? And we looked at that. But when we started to get technology in the like early 19th, 20th century, like, you know, with the telegram and the telephone and all that, there was a big kick-off, which I'd never realised, in communication with spirits.
Well, this is the whole Hilma thing, isn't it?
I just didn't realise how much on the techie side it was. Like Thomas Edison was planning to make a spirit telephone,
but
like
also
Thomas Edison.
Because we touched on this, didn't we, in the last episode, because we were thinking about that, like, oh my goodness, there's so many possibilities now. People were uncovering science of the invisible, and you kind of, and it is a logical question to ask. Well, actually, if we're discovering all this invisible stuff and we can now send our voices the other side of the town, like, you know, what else can we pick up?
The ether.
So
Thomas Edison said directly he wanted to create an apparatus to see if it's possible for personalities which have left Earth to communicate with us. He never realised that. He never got that done. But the following year, this F.R. Merton claimed to have succeeded in making a psychical telephone, but it was tested by a medium and it wasn't successful.
Just one medium.
That's what I thought. I was like, that's a bit brief, isn't it? There was also a keyboard.
That's interesting, though.
In 1845 to 51, there was a keyboard for transmitting telegraphic messages that people were trying to use.
There was like Morse code and stuff, wasn't there?
And then on that, because I was thinking about like how we communicate, in one case that I found that was like absolutely, I'd never heard this before today. So intriguing. And it's both how we communicate and how they communicate with us. So in the 1980s in England, in Doddleston, it's called the Doddleston Messages if you Google it. And it actually ended up being a book written by this guy called The Vertical Plane, which is actually really rare. Apparently the copies sell for loads on eBay. Okay. It was this guy called Ken Webster, who was a teacher at a local school. He lived in this 18th century brick cottage called Meadow Cottage in Doddleston. And one day he took one of the computers, you know them like really 80s, like tiny screen little computers where the keyboard's stuck to it?
Yeah.
I can't remember what the model's called, but it's like basically MS-DOS, like
like proper,
like
with
really
the
basic
block flashing cursor.
Yeah. He took that home from the school and he discovered a folder that had a message in it that was just totally weird. Let me read one of the messages because it was quite creepy. I write on behalf of many. What strange words you speak. You are a worthy, good man who has a fanciful woman, and you live in my house, who dwell in my home, with lights which the devil makes. It was a great crime to have stolen my house. Anyway, got loads of messages that were like very old language, like very early, like 1600s-ish. So Ken, anyway, was like, what? And he thought someone was playing a prank because his mate had been around using it for like songwriting the night before, and he was like, what are you doing? And he was like, absolutely wasn't me. And then he was like, that's weird, just ignored it. Got another one. Started like typing back and it was answering back and it was just weird.
What?
Anyway, he showed a like history teacher at the school he worked in, like, was like, do you know what this means? Because it was quite ye olde English, you know? And he was like, no, I don't know what that means, but I'll take it home and see if I can like translate. And then the actual guy had to go to Oxford physically, because the internet didn't exist, to go into their library to find specific books to decode specific bits of it. And it did make sense. And it was the correct usage of it.
Oh my God.
Which you wouldn't have known because it was really hard for him to
so if it was a
decode.
prank, it would have to be someone that really knew their stuff.
He would have to be really specialised in some like really niche versions of English.
Yeah. Part of me still thinks that's a massive prank, but like,
Yeah, I do, but also,
But then
what?
you just don't know, do you? This is it. You just don't know. It is interesting though, isn't it? As technology develops and grows,
Yeah,
we come up with these new ways, and now
ways.
it's app based because that's how our world works now. It's through apps, and there's so much skepticism around the apps. And yeah, but like you said, most of me thinks, like 90% of me thinks, like, yeah, that absolute, like, it is just entertainment, and
Yeah, but then there's a
obviously
bit of you that
the
like,
white noise.
whoa.
The white noise and the kind of raspy voices that you occasionally hear
I know.
absolutely are there to like make you the beeping even, and the fact that the beeping gets speeds
Yeah,
up. That's
intense.
very
Yeah.
psychological, isn't it? And it makes you like. But then I guess it was just, to me, it was weird the choice of words that it came up with. I think there's room within us though to be skeptical, but also just still be open to stuff, isn't there? Like, because I think I'm
course,
mostly
yeah.
skeptical about ghosts, but I don't also think that there's nothing. No. And this is what, like, I kind of had.
Well, you wouldn't get scared if you didn't think, do you know what I mean?
No, I think it's natural. And I was reading lots of articles. There was a Guardian article about like four different people, and one woman had said, "Oh, it's our culture has long for centuries and centuries and centuries been obsessed with this like spirit world. Like it's a continuing theme, and we purposefully keep that alive within our cultures.
Yeah.
And we keep it alive by changing how we interact with ghosts.
Yeah.
Like I've got the reference for that article if anyone wants to read up.
Do you know what I was thinking of? I've been listening to Irvin Finkel's, he's like the curator of Mesopotamian history at the National Museum. He's written a book called Ancient Ghosts, I think it's
All right,
called.
okay, interesting.
Ancient Mesopotamia, so that's like 4,000 years ago. And there's like documented cuneiform tablets of basically people talking about ghosts.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's like when we were researching the bead stuff and the guy with the...
Yeah. But 4,000 years ago, that's like when we were building like the stone circles. That's why it fascinates me.
But
It's like,
belief has always been there, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This belief in something that's beyond us or above us or not of this realm. My research kind of centered around how we interpret them and the explanations that we give to that. But I thought, well, there's different like groups, isn't there? So like the religious ones, obviously, because the whole demon thing, I think that's what I feel more skeptical about, is the
demon thing.
stuff. Because, well, to believe that, I guess that's a belief in evil, good and evil. And that's quite a religious theme, isn't it?
yeah.
And actually, I was reading that there are examples of ghost stories in the Bible. Not loads, but there are.
Yeah.
But yeah, evangelicals thinking very much into this demon idea and possession and all of that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because Catholics obviously believe in that purgatory state, but
Yeah.
evangelicals don't. And you would expect the ghost to be coming from that purgatory state where they're not even in heaven or hell. But actually, some don't believe in purgatory. So that was interesting. But then I kind of veered away from that to more like the scientific and environmental theories, because that was something that was raised in Uncanny Podcast, and they were talking about like frequencies,
Bloody hell,
electromagnetic fields, And I just thought that's really interesting because, and then that sick building syndrome. And then
that was weird.
Even things like high localized electromagnetic fields can interact with the human brain and cause like sensations of paranoia and what being watched and that sense of dread.
Maybe I should not sleep next to my charger.
Maybe. They're everywhere though. The amount of electricity and energy that we've got around us. Infrasound as well, which is nicknamed like the fear frequency.
Yeah, it comes up
So
as
sound waves below a certain 20 hertz. Often produced by machinery, so that was the lift thing, can cause discomfort, anxiety, vibrate the human eye, which induces hallucinations.
Does it?
Yes. And then toxic substances. So this one really links with the haunted house theory, doesn't it? That like things like carbon, actually lots of ghost stories have been attributed to low-level carbon monoxide poisoning. Really low level. And mold can cause hallucinations and paranoia. And obviously there's mold in all buildings, isn't there? And I thought it was interesting that Albert Einstein had a quote about like energy. So this is thinking about like, ghosts as
I love Einstein.
Collective energy. So this was actually from a ghost researcher called John Kachuba in his book Ghost Hunters in 2007. He said that Einstein proved that all the energy of the universe is constant and that it can neither be created nor destroyed. So what happens to that energy when we die? If it cannot be destroyed, it must then, according to Dr. Einstein, be transformed into another form of energy. But what is that? Could we call that new creation a ghost? And I was like, that's probably more aligns with what I feel that it might be.
Yeah.
Is that energy.
And I feel like, do you know how with like, I've been listening to that Mayim Bialik's breakdown, and often theme running through it is like quantum physics, metaphysics, and like how we don't understand time. And we literally don't understand time, and that is like proven now.
Yeah.
And I just think there's something about not understanding time.
Yes.
So there's something there.
Wormholes, black holes. That was the other bit, because I had some of the paranormal or more like sci-fi explanations or whatever. It was still scientific, really. So there was several different theories about like parallel universes. And multiverses, which is very Marvel. I always think about Spider-Man now when I think about that. Because apparently Stephen Hawking had suggested that time is not necessarily linear, but it can on occasion curl back on itself, creating loops. Yeah. Creating loops. So somehow you could get...
So you've got multiple timelines running at once.
That are trapped in a time loop. And this is the theory that's also used to explain deja vu, which we all have.
Yeah. I thought deja vu was when one of your hemispheres is faster than the other.
Well, I think there's different theories. Yeah. Consciousness survival was another theory.
Intergalactic planetary.
Yep. So, and we talked about this, didn't we? Like, consciousness survives as non-physical energy.
Yeah, it's like all being one, and that energy just going back into itself.
Yeah, so that was those, and then the residual hauntings, the stone tape theory. Which I kind of
was like, a book, wasn't it?
Part of me is like, okay,
that don't to me think taps. So.
Well, what, that traumatic or emotional events are recorded into the environment,
into a brick.
I think that's almost like links in with the energy thing, though.
I think that links in more with the time thing.
Dylan did some research with me for this one, actually, and he was like, Mummy, thought forms is one of them. I was like, oh, we talked about that in Hilma. If you've got murderous rage thought forms, for example, from that book that you read from,
they linger.
And they are coming, like, and they are physically actually at a wave, then you never know. And then the psychological factors.
So open your windows and let your thought forms out.
Yeah, let them out so they don't sink into carpet. And then the psychological ones, which I think probably explains most of them, doesn't it, really? The now, I can't say this word.
Pareidolia.
Yeah, where you're hardwired to see like patterns and faces, and I see them in trees all the time. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, everybody sees them because that's how our brains work.
I can see faces and things, yeah.
Like Jesus in a slice of toast and all that.
Obviously, the psychological aspects that actually it's driven by fear. I don't think it was like people with a fantasy-prone personality. I'm more likely, and I'm like, yeah, that's us. Also, one thing I thought was really interesting. Dylan was like, Mummy, what star sign are you? And I was like, I'm a Scorpio. And I was like, look at what I found. And he was like, Scorpios apparently have a natural interest in the paranormal obs and are open to communicating with spirits. Why Scorpio? Because apparently my psychic abilities are strong and I'm emotionally intense, which we all know, which can attract ghostly experiences or allow them to feel energies that others cannot. And apparently, because I was like, oh, what about Cancer, which is Dylan, and Sagittarius, which is you, they are the most able to protect you from ghosts. So there you go. So your zodiac sign, might be impacting on your ability to, communicate with ghosts.
Wow, that is pretty weird.
Because it's so funny, because even like on the day in Edinburgh.
Well, I took a bag of stones.
Yeah, I did. We were sat over breakfast and Rach was like, I'm prepared, Leona. I've got my bag of stones here. This is going to protect us. Stones. And I was like, I haven't brought any stones. And she was like, it's all right, I've got one for you. My skill is just communicating with them, but Rach can protect.
Mine is warding the energy. Because you must protect your energy. And also, everywhere we went, we said, you can stay behind now, please. Just in case.
Oh, I didn't say that. Oh, gosh.
I did.
Oh, good. You said it over ours as well. Phew.
Because apparently talking, if you are having any things happen, apparently if you just say, I don't like it when you do that, can you please stop it? It does actually work loads.
Gentle parenting to a ghost.
You would be good at that.
Gentle hands.
Right. This is quite enough now.
If you can't stop that, I'm going to have to remove you from the room. When you do that, it makes me feel this way.
When you do that, it makes me feel absolutely terrified. So
stop.
if you could just stop, that would be ideal.
I can sense that you're having a really hard time right now. Let's talk about it.
So is that the end of your
Yeah.
research?
I just
That's
thought it
really
was
interesting.
really interesting. And even though, you know, all these theories, it's that element of mystery, isn't it? Again, that you just like, it's fun and sometimes fun, I guess. But it's like, it's quite nice to think that there's
scary.
something else. And we like to be scared, don't we? People love a ghost story.
I don't like to be scared.
Well,
But I am
I was
intrigued.
generally talking about people.
Well, wrapping up, I've been creative and I've written a ghost story.
That's
Which
incredible.
we're actually going to publish as a bonus little episode
Mm-hmm.
once we've worked creatively together on it. Now I'm just going to have a look at
Do
soundtracks
sound
of
effects
them
and do some...
maybe some music with that.
Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? So we'll upload that in between this next one as your little episode
little,
10
like,
bonus.
And there was other things we wanted to do as well, wasn't there? Like, I wanted to focus on museum ghosts, so maybe we'll follow that up at some point in the
Yeah, you
future
might get a
and do
part
another
2.
one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
See what happens. Who knows what
'Cause,
tangent will go on?
Time's not linear, as we so.
We might go in a time loop. Woo.
Circle back. That was thrilling.
Yeah.
If you're downloading any apps, please just look at the privacy settings, etc. Don't get scammed. And
Don't purchase anything.
safe fun.
And don't forget
purchase
the
anything.
guidelines for communicating with spirits.
Get your cat balls out.
Might-
It's got the image of someone holding up their cat. Come on, tickle him up. Right, we've lost it. The end of us choking on a red wine. I've got Bailey's. Well, thanks for hanging out with us yet again.
Yeah, I'm listening to us proper waffle on.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.